Have you ever heard these rumors of who is supposed to be Wolverine? You know, Hugh Jackman, obviously iconic in the role, but there were some other actors that were rumored to potentially be Wolverine. You're gonna love this.
Well, who was supposed to be the Wolverine?
Danny DeVito. I love Danny DeVito. I love Danny. He's short, he's chunky, he's fuzzy. I just think it would be unbelievably funny for him to be Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds having connections to the Always Sunny cast. I am not holding my breath for this. We might see him as Wolverine in this movie, if not for just even a brief second.
Is that a rumor that Danny DeVito potentially could be in this?
I know there's going to be some major surprises. There's been rumblings of Taylor Swift potentially being in the film. It is unbelievably possible Danny DeVito makes an appearance in this.
This podcast was brought to you by The Magic Candle Company. Relive your favorite theme park memories through the magical sense of smell. Receive 15% off at checkout by using discount code DEBATE and help our channel in the process.
Welcome, everybody, to Diz or That, a Disney debate podcast. My name is Justin.
And my name is Chris, and we are here with episode number, just kidding, I don't know.
Who knows? We've had to kind of move some stuff around a little bit to get this particular episode in here.
But
so
we're here. We're here.
You're going to see some weird editing probably in the next video. And as well, just to clarify, this will be actually our first announcement of it technically, because we're going to remove it from the other video. I'm going to be coming to see Chris in probably just about a few weeks from when this releases. The first week of August, me and Chris are going to be heading down to Disney World, having some fun. I believe we're going to Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Epcot.
And Epcot. Doing quite a bit. We're into the boardwalk. And your first time, this is a big time. This is your first time on the
which one? What?
Oh, geez.
What park? Where? What are we doing?
The Skyliner.
The Skyliner, yeah. Technically, this will be my first time on the actual Skyliner. Yeah, so we're gonna be staying. Yeah, I guess you're not gonna be able to find our room. We're gonna be staying over at Pop Century for a bit, and
I encourage you to find our room because that means at least one person's listening to this. So
hey, you know that'd be great.
Come find our room. Come find our room. We'll actually put our name on the door, in the window. We'll decorate it saying This or That podcast.
If you stay till the 30-minute mark of this actual episode, I'm going to put up my credit card information. Feel free to buy whatever you want.
Go. Including some candles. But
I mean, honestly, if you bought some magic candles and like a lightsaber from Shop Disney, I would honestly never dispute that charge. I would just assume
you would not
that
even
was
know.
Me.
You would not even know.
Clue, dude. The amount of like scrolling through my Apple Wallet app and just seeing how much Disney has taken from it. Oh boy, just keep it coming, guys.
Oh, I totally get that. So, but you're coming down. You're coming down in August. We're staying
right at the beginning of August. I'm going to be there for a little bit. We're even going to be doing some stuff on like that. The first weekend's Sunday. We'll do some off-property stuff.
We're going to do some busy stuff. We're going to be busy. This is your first time in August, correct?
Yeah, first time down in Florida in the summer. I'm trying to think if it has ever happened before, and I think April was probably the closest I've been, which it was like a 90 to 95
for a man
weekend.
that doesn't like the heat. For a man that doesn't like the heat, this is something else for you. So you were going at least in April.
Notice the sweatshirt I'm trying to wear a sweatshirt like all day long.
Prepare,
just to try.
Get ready because it's going to be hotter than you've ever felt. I think. Oh, you went to Mexico. We did go to Mexico in August. I think actually.
It was like July. I think it was like July 4th weekend or something. So like similar.
Yeah, actually. So you kind of have an understanding. Florida, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. It's going to be feels like over 100 degrees. I think 4th of July was 105. Feels like 105. So
insane.
That day specifically, I was saying Justin's in for some hurting.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I am not like expecting too much. If your boy needs to just like chill inside of the little Coca-Cola shop at Epcot the entire weekend, it just is what it is. Like,
it kind of is what it is.
We're gonna figure it out.
I think you'll be okay. Dress light. We're not going to be cosplaying this time around.
Not this time. No way.
Nothing heavy. Just dress light, and I think you'll be in good shape. I mean,
yeah. We
there's
will see.
a lot of people that make it work. So if we need to get you one of those scooters, ride around.
That's what we're gonna
So
do.
be it.
I'm gonna get the thing with the fans that point at your face, and we're gonna get all the misters and everything. If you have any tips on how to survive the heat in Orlando during the middle of the summer, just email them directly to me. Like, just send them directly to my number because I need them bad. But leave it in a comment somewhere, either on YouTube, on go join us on Instagram or TikTok, Diz or That Pod. Let's jump into today's episode.
Today,
we had to fast track this one because we got something coming out in just a handful of days. Really, like I think it's within a week that a new Marvel film is coming out, and it's a big one. This is a doozy, Chris.
And this is Marvel, right? This is not Sony.
MCU Marvel Studios. This isn't Sony. And if you guys are up on kind of all of the Marvel movie like drama, this particular movie is an X-Men franchise sort of a film. It's within that world, which was owned by Fox Studios. So everything that you have seen related to the X-Men before this, more or less, with a few recent things that they've kind of dabbled in there, is all sort of old universe, old canon stuff. This right here, this film is our first official, I believe, X-Men.
So this
X-Men
is first.
movie.
Is this? No, tell me this. So I don't need to tell you that we are in your wheelhouse right now.
This is my world. Yeah.
This is not my world. This is not my wheelhouse. Did I see Avengers? Did I like Avengers? I did.
Yeah.
Do I have a minimal understanding of the X-Men? I do.
Sure.
Are we going to have a very hefty debate today? Probably not, but we're going to talk about it because it's appropriate. Today we're going to be doing Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Yes.
Makes sense. That's the movie. I'm looking forward to it because I've seen the Deadpool movies.
Yeah. Deadpool movies, fantastic.
I'm going to out myself.
Films.
I have not seen a lot of X-Men.
And I think have you seen like the first X-Men movie, like the original like Hugh Jackman X-Men film?
I will tell you what one I've seen.
Okay.
Which I've already told you. Days of Future Past. I've seen that movie. I like the movie. I did.
It's fantastic.
I did not see the first Deadpool appearance in Origins.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard great things about that either. So
I think what you see of like there is that scene, I think it's in Deadpool 2 where he kind of goes back to Deadpool or the Wolverine Origins, like that whole thing. If you just know what that scene is, that's all you really need to know about that. And Deadpool has such a long, weird history with the films. The X-Men films in general have a really long, weird history. If you're looking at films as far as these two characters go, Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously the first and the only two Deadpool movies are key pieces of things you should watch. And then X1, maybe X2, maybe even X3 if you really like the X-Men like original films. But Days of Future Past, I think, is probably like one of the best modern X-Men movies that they've done.
I think that's a good movie. That's a good movie.
It's fantastic. I think it's so well done on just like a full X-Men level, but also because it's is Wolverine centric. Like
it's also just
works.
A good movie. And even if you take the X-Men away, I think it's a good film in general. It's
the concept is there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good. You know, that's when I think that came out when like time travel in general was big in movies at that time period. Just like in Multiverse of Madness when, you know, multiple universes was a big thing. So
yes,
I think they were able to play with that in an interesting way. So again, I'm gonna say it. I do not have a lot of experience with this. I'm picking Deadpool because I've seen two Deadpool movies. I know a little bit about Deadpool. I've read some comics. I have read. It's been a while since we were playing the comic game. I have not been in a comic book store in a while. But Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
Yes, which I believe is going to be a very big inspiration for what we see in this film. It's been sort of rumored, so like I think that's a really good primer for not just you, but for anybody kind of going.
So I've seen that. I do have a couple Deadpool books that I've gone through. I also have a few X-Men books I've gone through. I have Old Man Logan, the Secret Wars
Yes.
series. I haven't read the original Old Man Logan, but I have some idea of what's going on.
We've been into comics for a hot minute now. Like you got a lot of the broad strokes. I remember watching you buy just a very big and heavy long box of just X-Men comics at a Comic-Con one time.
That was probably a mistake. I don't know why it was all junk, but
it was all junk, and like we were just a little too new into the hobby to like really realize that it was all junk. I think we thought there might be some gold in there. No, absolutely
no. They were trying to get rid of a box, and I think I spent maybe $8 to $9 on the whole box. So
then you had to carry that.
We had to carry it. We had to carry it all the way back to the car, and but I think a lot of those comics were ended up used for some type of like school project for someone. They like used it like like paper mache or something. I don't know.
They were making ransom notes. I think that's what they were doing.
It could have been. It could have been. But it was so again, don't know a lot, but I do. I think the Deadpool movies are great. I think Deadpool is a really cool character. I agree. I think he's and that's all I have. So what are you for Wolverine?
Yeah, done. I was going to say done with the arguments, right? Like there we go. Deadpool's cool. There's no arguing that. I can't argue on that, right? Like Deadpool is amazing. Those first two Deadpool films are incredible.
Really specifically, that and I don't know how we're going to even go through this. So I know you want to. You're picking Wolverine in this, and I get that. I can see why someone would pick Wolverine as a character. And we literally are just talking about the characters in general today, as we thought that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But Deadpool in general, is that where I was going?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about the characters in general.
Cool. The movie's cool. The first movie, though, I think was really needed.
From a like superhero movie standpoint, Marvel movie standpoint, that's I agree too, and especially when it came out 2014, 2015, something like that. It was just like we weren't in this position where like people feel like we are now, whether you personally feel this way or not. Like there's superhero fatigue going on. We weren't fully there yet, but we were kind of on the way there. And a movie like Deadpool really helps refresh like the whole superhero thing. It was able to make fun of superhero movies and superhero tropes without like being offensive towards them.
Deadpool 1 was 2016. Deadpool 2, I thought it was more
Deadpool
recent, but it was
2016. That's nuts. Wow.
Deadpool 2 was 2018. I thought that was like 2 years ago that came out. But
because Deadpool, I do remember Deadpool 2 coming out in the midst of the Avengers like Infinity War, because I believe Infinity War came out 2018.
Yes.
And I think it came out just a few weeks before Deadpool 2 came out. Very weird to see Josh Brolin, Cable, who was in Deadpool 2, as both Cable and Thanos, and they're making reference like to that in the film, like just weird, very weird.
I think that all comes down to why I like the Deadpool character in general, right? Because I think you hit the nail on the head there. That was kind of my biggest argument for Deadpool, is that he is not a parody necessarily, but he does mock the idea of superheroes in general. And I, like you said, it took away some of that superhero fatigue. It brought in a new feeling to what superhero movies can be. And I mean, in typical Deadpool fashion, kind of gave people what they wanted for a Deadpool movie.
Yeah, it was like, in this, we could go on a whole rant, and like, I'm sure we'll touch on actors and things, but like Ryan Reynolds being one of the key players in leading that charge and making it what it is, like only a guy like Ryan Reynolds can really add what he added to that, which made it, I feel like, be what it was meant to be, like an actual Deadpool movie.
What's so fun about that in general, right, is that so he was reading Deadpool, right? 2004, Deadpool comic comes out, and the character in the comic book literally says he looks like Ryan Reynolds mixed with a Sharpay. And Ryan Reynolds sees that and he's like, okay, I want to play Deadpool now, right? And so for that to kind of come full circle like that itself is very much what Deadpool is about as a character.
Referencing
right?
the real world and having the real world
it is
call back to it. 100%.
It is reverse fourth wall. He called himself out as being Ryan Reynolds 5 years before Ryan Reynolds even played him.
Yeah. And it's I forget what the timeline was on the original Deadpool.
I think it was 91.
Comic book appearance. I meant the original Ryan Reynolds movie Deadpool appearance, because for people who don't know,
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yes, he did appear as Wade Wilson. I don't know if he was technically Deadpool in the movie. Like, he was the character of Wade Wilson, who is Deadpool. But, like, there is a real sort of tragedy in that whole thing. We're kind of now being able to tie it all into Wolverine, coming full circle there. But, like, I think that really adds to the story of, like, not only did he get to eventually do a comic accurate, like a perfectly comic accurate version of Deadpool, but he kind of had to go through the ringer first. So it just adds to, like, the drama of that story of just taking Deadpool in such a like a wrong direction. It's what they did in Wolverine Origins. I don't know if we can count that as a point against me because it is a Wolverine movie, but the one thing you don't do to Deadpool, unless it's a very long, drawn out sort of storyline and there's a purpose, the one thing you don't do is sew his mouth up. And that is what they did in that movie. The merc with a mouth has no ability to be snarky. Stupid move. That was dumb. I think everybody agrees. It's great to have that for, like, fodder in the rest of the Deadpool franchise. He can kind of keep referring to that. He refers to his Green Lantern appearance. I don't know if you've ever watched Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, but it is a very just mid movie. Very mid. Yeah. But just so that whole thing, I think it's just such a beautiful story. Everything coming full circle for him. It is the right actor to play the character, and I think they did the comics a whole lot of justice.
Yeah, I mean, there really couldn't be another actor that played him. You can't say you are Ryan Reynolds, in a comic and then have a different. I could see maybe Ryan Gosling. I think that would be funny, but
that would be interesting.
It would be funny just for that specific joke that he said he looks like Ryan Reynolds. I don't know. Okay. I think that would be funny in my own head, but I think that would be good. But yeah, I mean, he kind of needs to be Ryan Reynolds at that point.
Ryan Reynolds is the key, and I think in this film we are going to get other versions of Deadpool, so it'll be interesting to see if we get, like, a big actor like that to, like, be Deadpool for a minute there.
So I never read any of the original run of Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read those when you were reading comics quite a bit?
Minimally. I'm not the most extensive in that world, but I know.
So I know he starts off as a villain in New Mutants 98. That's when he starts off as a big villain to the New Mutants, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know if it was until he got his own book that he started becoming kind of the anti-hero, or when that transitioned to him being kind of the guy you're rooting for. But
yeah, he came out in an era of that, like, in the 90s, Venom is super popular, like the anti-hero thing. Heck, like, you could go to WWE, like Stone Cold Steve Austin is taken off at that time. Anti-hero. The 90s were all about anti-heroes. I do think that Deadpool did originally, like, I think his intent was just to be a villain. I don't think they had any intent to turn him into what he became.
I think that's right. I think he was just supposed to be a villain.
I think there is some argument from the creators on if he actually is, like, a ripoff of the DC character. Is it Deathstroke? Yeah, it's Deathstroke. Slade Wilson is the DC character's name. So, like, very hard to deny that Wade Wilson, Deadpool. Yeah. So they definitely started off that way in a very similar character. If we were going to be doing more of an intense battle, that would be kind of one of my points here, is that, Wade Wilson, a little bit of a knockoff in himself. He became something later, but his origins are knockoff city, baby.
He kind of did. I believe the design of his whole outfit was based
Extremely
on Spider-Man anyway
Yeah.
as well.
It's a cross between those two. It's like the color scheme
Yeah.
and some other stuff from Spider-Man with that. And they kind of even added in a little bit of Spider-Man like with his snark. Like he sort of is an adult version of Spider-Man, like a, you know, a really hard R or like really heavy PG-13 version of Spider-Man. Like that just kind of
I don't know where you're going with the hard R, but
okay. Like a hard R-rated film movie.
There
Let
you
me
go.
start
So-
that again for the edit.
Yeah, we don't.
He's a really R-rated, version of Spider-Man. There we go.
But we have two different characters that are they're different, but they're similar in a lot of ways. I think in general, which is why they go well together, and not just the fact that they're both kind of the X-Men universe, but they're both kind of these edgy characters. Whereas Deadpool almost feels like a parody of Wolverine in a way. I know we were talking about
I can see that.
you know, the Slade Wilson kind of parody on that, but they're very similar. I mean, Wolverine is the very like serious, cool X-Men, right?
Yeah,
And then Deadpool is some similar powers in a way, right? He's kind of invincible, like Wolverine.
They have the regeneration. They can both
regenerate.
Yeah,
You know, they can come back, but Deadpool kind of gives it a little bit of an extra edge. And I think there's just the fourth wall breaking is something that we don't really see that in especially superhero movies like that, right?
I think the only other real, and I mean, I'm sure, because I think like Howard the Duck, I do think like does some fourth wall breaking. He's not super big, but they did do the She-Hulk TV series not that long ago, and she breaks the fourth wall a lot. But outside of Deadpool and She-Hulk and Howard the Duck and maybe a few other random characters,
so a lot more
like
than
it is 100%. But I would say if you're gonna assign that trope to somebody, it's Deadpool. Like that is 1,000%. Nobody breaks the fourth wall like Deadpool does. It's
there's
100%.
fourth wall breaking, but it's more so than just like the Saved by the Bell fourth wall breaking, right?
Sure.
It is,
yeah. Which is a little more what She-Hulk was. It was a little more of that. Like I'm talking to the audience just to like move the story along. Where like Deadpool is like just straight up, like you're in the room with him and he's ripping on you, and he's making references,
real life things, referencing the actor that he's the character. You know, like there's so many ways that he breaks the fourth wall in ways that we don't see in other, because fourth wall breaking in general is not super uncommon in media in general. But when you have it done like that, where it's really in your face, that he, you know, referencing again Green Lantern, for instance, that you have things like this referencing Josh Brolin as Thanos, and also, you know, as Cable. That's not something that's really done, as it's hard to have a narrative and do that.
Nobody else, like in no other situation could you reference the fact that like Sony owns Spider-Man, you know, Fox owns the X-Men, and then like Disney owns everything else. And he can just like have that conversation as just plain as that. And it's hilarious.
It's his character. It's canon. And that's what makes the book really fun, you know, and that's what makes it so exciting, is you really don't know what's coming next. You know, there's not as much narrative, because things can change like that, you know, and you really don't know what's going to come next. I think the regeneration, so we were talking about, they both do it. Deadpool does it in a way that there's a lot of, so Deadpool's kind of like a comedy, right? As well as, so there's 100%. A lot of physical comedy involved with his regeneration, which I think is probably some of the funniest like parts of the movie. The minute that you realize that he's got those little baby legs when he's sitting on the couch, Deadpool like, too, the baby legs, the baby hands,
unbelievable, you know? Unbelievably funny.
That is super funny.
Just pitch perfect. Could only be done. There's a bug on me. Just flew right towards me. That was weird.
That's disgusting.
That is disgusting.
That's atrocious.
Summer.
We don't have bugs in Florida, so
but you got that heat. So, ugh. What the heck was I saying?
Baby legs. Baby legs
Baby
on the
legs.
couch.
The baby legs on the couch. It was just unbelievably hilarious. The theater response was wild. That was just probably the funniest thing I've seen. That's only been sort of maybe like rivaled by in Endgame, that scene with Ant-Man with Paul Rudd, where he's like turning into a baby and then he's like shrunken down, and that where they're testing the time travel. And I think it was also in the actual Ant-Man movie, like the second Ant-Man movie, whatever. Only sort of rivaled by something like that. But even then, I don't think it's been done on that level. But you're right. Like the physical comedy is such a big part, along with the fourth wall breaking, along with just the snark of Deadpool. And then you put all of that into the super serious world of like, not just the Marvel universe, but like specifically the X-Men universe, especially at the time of those first two films, is like takes itself so seriously.
And that's what pulls it all together, because it's not just a comedy movie. You know, you have actually a really good, fun story, but also some really serious, dark themes. And that's what Deadpool can do. It can bring this over the top humor into some really dark. I mean, Deadpool in general, the character, it's a stage 4 cancer patient.
Yeah.
All right. So he's dying, and he just happens to go through this what is it, the weapon?
I believe the weapon, or the Weapon X. It's some part of something that Wolverine sort of went through. Yeah.
He's basically saved by this. Life comes together. But then you have these really atrocious things that happen in these movies. In Deadpool 2 specifically, I mean, there's abuse of these children going on at this foster home, right? You know, it's awful.
It's wild. Awful. It's wild that they're putting that into a modern, like, multi-million-dollar superhero movie. Like it's so interesting to me, because that was a little more separated. Like, it being over at Fox for those first two films, you know, they're also the studio that did Logan, the other Wolverine movie that we'll talk about in a minute, that was also R-rated. Like, they were ready to do that sort of thing. It's going to be so interesting to see when Disney now gets a hold of this character again, and like, how is it going to be? Like, what is it going to be like? We've been promised that it's going to be just like Deadpool, but can they go to that same level? It's going to be interesting.
And yeah, I mean, they need to fit that perfectly, fit the puzzle piece in perfectly, because there is such an expectation at this point. And these tickets already, most theaters are selling out.
That's wild for like local theaters. That's why I text you, because you're going to be up here around that time. I was like, dude, like I'm going to go see that weekend. I got to buy tickets now.
It's hard to get into, to get in and see this movie. You know, it's not that easy, because it is so popular. People want this movie. And if you think about it, I mean, 2009 was when X-Men Origins came out, right? Wolverine. And it's been 15 years since then.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it doesn't feel that Deadpool has been around for 15 years.
In that like movie consciousness. Yeah, it really hasn't. But it's interesting with this film, because there is so much legacy involved, because you're bringing in Wolverine, which is the other element to this whole thing that's like super, super interesting, because Hugh Jackman as Wolverine was supposed to be done when he completed Logan. Like, that was his send-off. It was a perfect send-off, and I don't think this takes away from that at all, but like, that is massive that they got him back. And you know, it's one of the few people, and we'll get into this more as we kind of dive into Wolverine, but one of the few people that can kind of be put into that same category. Like you were talking about, they're both so similar in a way that they just work. They work as like the wacky comedic relief and the straight man. Like, it is a perfect duo, the two of them. And in particularly, both Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Like, I don't think you can cast this film any better.
Yeah, for the two of them. I mean, going to the cast, yeah, right. You have two of the biggest actors in the world.
Yeah, who are buddies in like real life, who are having a great time making the film. Like, this is a hopeful recipe for success. Watch, this is going to be the worst film ever.
Yeah, I mean, so Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, it makes sense. It's a good casting. going to the casting in general of Wolverine, though, Hugh Jackman's been Wolverine since when?
Since whenever X1 was released, which is like early 2000s, if not even the 90s. It might be
a long time. Let's look that up because 2000
yeah,
that came out. So
totally makes sense.
Hugh Jackman's been playing Wolverine for 24 years. And if you're born in the 90s, I mean, you don't know any other Wolverine, right? Wolverine is Hugh Jackman.
And we're going to touch on this in just a second because I got some fun stuff to talk about in that field. But you're 100% right. It's just there's so much legacy that is involved. Like Hugh Jackman has transcended, I guess, like superhero eras, because I would call that like the 2000s was like that was Tobey Maguire Spider-Man City. Then you're moving into like the beginnings of the Avengers after that. And now we're into like a third era of new stuff, and he has literally been there in every one of those eras.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, we've had 3 different Spider-Mans. When people say Spider-Man now, are you thinking of Tom Holland? Are you thinking of Tobey Maguire? Are you thinking of Andrew Garfield?
That's a good point, because like Spider-Man kind of defines those eras, right? Like Tobey, Andrew, and Tom Holland. Those are all 3 distinct eras of superhero films.
You can say it for other, I guess like Iron Man, Captain America, but those also feel defined in one era, right?
Because they more or less are.
They are. They've been around. I mean, Iron Man. When did the first Iron Man come out?
2008, something like that, I think.
So that's been it's been a while, but it hasn't. That might be the only Iron Man you think of, but there's still only one Wolverine.
Yeah, and like I said, I got some stuff because there were some fun castings that were rumored when the X1 movie, I believe, was out, and I'm really freaking hoping we're gonna see it. While we're talking about casting, though, because like we're saying, and we're talking a lot about Deadpool in this first half, which I like. I want to keep going with that. So casting of Deadpool, we got Ryan Reynolds, right? And that is the guy. We think he is the guy. There really is maybe no better choice than Ryan Reynolds, but he has been portrayed by a few other people. The list is not huge. It's a little slim, but there is one particular person that I think kind of stands out among the rest. And if we're talking about a animated voice actor doing Deadpool, if it's not Ryan Reynolds, it's got to be this guy. I think he captured it perfectly. Will Friedle. If you know who Will Friedle is, aka Eric Matthews or Ron Stoppable from Kim Possible and Boy Meets World, fantastic job. And I forget how much he's portrayed him because it's been in a few different animated versions. I believe he was featured in one of the Spider-Man cartoon versions, and just the way he can act, it's so appropriate for that character. Like it's spot on. If we can't have Ryan Reynolds doing something for Deadpool, I really want Will Friedle. I don't think I've seen anybody.
I can't speak on that because I have not seen any animated Deadpool. I really haven't. But that's fun.
It's good fun stuff.
And I think that's another point for Deadpool. So if we're putting them against each other, then I will take it.
I'm helping out a little bit since
you are helping out. I mean, this is your wheelhouse. You know these movies. You know the characters. You know the films. I'm kind of that guy that went to the theater and saw Deadpool once. Hey, good movie.
I mean, is literally when we saw. I forget if we saw Endgame together, if we saw Infinity War together, if we saw did both.
We saw Avengers: Age of Ultron.
We saw Age of Ultron, but then Katie came. I think Megan came.
It wasn't Endgame. Must have been Infinity War.
It was Infinity War. Yeah. Very, very long film. Quite a ride. But yeah, I just remember that, like, it was sick. It was good. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey man, that's part of the nice part about a lot of these films. You can kind of jump in, just see what's going on. If you want the bigger picture on stuff, cool. If not, you go out with friends, you have a dinner, and you get to hear the whole backstory. You get to hear all the lore, as we have done millions of times.
I've heard. I know most of my Marvel because of you.
Me, our buddy Mike, like stuff like that. Like, yeah, the nerds take care of their friends and make sure they're all
you know this. This is something and
that's why Yeah.
But it's also exposed me to it. I mean, I may have I don't know if you weren't as into Marvel as you were. I don't know if I would have cared as much. I don't know if I would have seen the Deadpool movies. I don't think I would have had as much interest. But I'm glad I did.
Hey man, that's you gotta spread the nerd when you can. And the other thing you gotta spread too is some sense. You know, when it's maybe not smelling too good in your room, you gotta mask a little bit of some bag of Taco Bell in the corner rotting away. I don't know what you got going on in that office over there. Maybe Jabba the Hutt ain't smelling too good back there, that popcorn bucket, but
it has no smell, thankfully. But
that's good.
It is
but if
smell-free.
it did, you know what you could do?
We could do a little spray, maybe.
A little spray. You could light up
Maybe
a candle. You could use a wax melt. I believe there's a bunch of other new products and stuff they got going on too over at the Magic Candle Company, our sponsor for this episode. Christopher, why don't we learn just a little bit more about the Magic Candle Company?
Magic Candle Company themed fragrances allow you to capture the smell of your most cherished vacation memories. Set sail on a swashbuckling pirate adventure. Transport back to the tropical atmosphere of a beautiful South Pacific themed resort. Relive the excitement of a fun-filled day spent on your favorite dark water rides. Soar above a California orange grove. Embark on an exotic river cruise adventure. Recall that first bite of your favorite frozen pineapple treat. Escape to your favorite rocking chair overlooking a murmuring creek as you soak in the splendor of the great outdoors. Enjoy the scent that's beloved by foolish mortals and happy haunts alike. Or even recapture the nostalgic aroma of being a kid again, watching your favorite Saturday morning cartoons. All of this and more is just a click away. Visit MagicCandleCompany.com and escape to your happy place today.
Receive 15% off. Discount code DEBATE.
We're back.
Magic Candle Company, use that discount code DEBATE for 15% off your next order. You guys save some money. We end up receiving a cut. It helps support this show, the YouTube channel, the trips to go down to Epcot and Magic Kingdom, wherever else we're doing, whenever else we're doing. So it keeps us in the Disney world. So go support. We really appreciate it. Deadpool sense. What would Deadpool be doing? Chimichanga all day? That's is there anything else? Some weird
Chimichanga. They would be offensive, but you got to go chimichanga. You know,
that's the one. I think that's the most like PG thing we can say, that like Deadpool would probably realistically have a whole lot of jokes that we.
When was the last time you had a chimichanga?
It's been a while, man. I've had a lot of unfried burritos. But
I have had, I would say fairly recently I've had a chimichanga, and I don't know if you know a lot about chimichangas, but they're almost better than burritos.
Yeah, man. I mean, like by definition, it's a fried like burrito.
You
like
deep fry burrito, it's gonna be good. And
I think
does
sales
he have
for
a chimichanga truck?
He's got the chimichanga truck. I don't think we've ever seen it, say, in any of the movies or anything.
I don't think it's made a film appearance.
I don't know actually what. Well, I want to maybe take that back a little bit. It might have been somewhere like in the background or something, or it might just be like in general, like chimichanga trucks are kind of in there. I'm really hoping we see like a little cameo of like a chimichanga like food truck like version of Deadpool. Very big in the Funko world. I know that pop figure.
Oh yeah,
the chimichanga truck was
classic. That's 2015 classic. But
I think Mexican restaurants are going to be like, they got to be prepared for the coming film. I think a lot of people
a chimichanga in a lot of places.
It's interesting, right? Like very few places.
It's very when you see the chimichanga, I order the chimichanga. I don't let that slip, because you can't get a chimichanga in most places. I'll say most places.
I'm gonna have to do some research,
food.
Man. It really is, because you need the deep fried capabilities. You got to do the burritos anyway. It's interesting,
and it has to be done right too. I don't know really a lot about what goes into making a chimichanga, but you got to do it right. So Um,
he
but,
knows a good one when he tastes it.
I do.
We'll have to figure out a local spot, get some chimichangas. We'll have to sneak them into the old movie theater when we go see Deadpool and Wolverine, or is it Wolverine and Deadpool? I think it's Deadpool and Wolverine. It's another one of these weird, it's just two characters mashed together. What order is it in? I would imagine it's Deadpool first. But we got to talk about the other guy. Now, we talked a lot about Deadpool, and I'm sure we'll talk more about him, but we got to talk about our other boy, Mr. Wolverine, Logan. We're talking about actors, and we were saying how pitch perfect these are. I mean, Hugh Jackman, no doubt, I think, has portrayed Wolverine extremely well, and it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. I don't know if it's exactly like we love the character of Wolverine and he has been able to portray that to a T, because I do think that that's an element there. But it's also like Hugh Jackman was really sort of like an introduction for a mass audience of who Wolverine really is. So I think a lot of people associate Wolverine with Hugh Jackman because it's kind of like he's the first. It's a little bit like Tobey and Spider-Man to a certain degree, but Spider-Man had a little more sort of exposure, I think, than Wolverine had. But yeah,
I think just by nature of the character, Spider-Man is one of the most popular superheroes of all time. Whereas Wolverine, you kind of got to be in that X-Men world. You gotta be in with the X-Men if you're going to be in with Wolverine.
I think he was.
You don't
he
just
was,
get one character and get to roll with it.
And that's true. There's not just a bunch. I mean, I'm sure that everything did kind of spin off into their own like separate miniseries and stuff. But at least a lot of initial runs, at least at that time, you had to kind of read the full boat thing, know the full X-Men story to know Wolverine. I would say that he was probably one of the standouts of the bunch. Professor X, Wolverine, I think definitely stood out. But again, this is all based on knowledge from a 90s kid who was born in the 90s, who like their brain first turned on when the X-Men movies were happening in the 2000s. So who knows how much of like my experience, probably your experience, is just colored by the fact that X-Men were some of the biggest things going on at that time. Hugh Jackman was the star. He was big. So Wolverine might be standing out because of that.
And maybe that's where I didn't grow up with the X-Men. I didn't watch them, so I don't know why I wasn't. Maybe,
did you watch the cartoon at all? Did you watch that 90s cartoon? Because I'm pretty sure that was before. I don't know if they coincided with the live action movies.
I didn't do a lot of this. A lot of the superhero cartoons. I didn't do any Teen Titans or anything like that.
I didn't do Teen Titans too much. That was a little bit after.
You were Power Rangers, so you were all about the ensemble superheroes.
I mean,
that was.
Let's be real. Power Rangers, it's all about either the Red Ranger, depending on what series you're watching, or the White Ranger. Back in the OG, the Green and White Ranger was my guy. So
not even the Pink Ranger, but
she was my crush. So it's a different.
There you go.
Different thing.
But
totally.
You like the ensemble superheroes. You grew up with the ensemble superheroes.
I liked a lot of that 90s stuff, man. You did. You did. You're missing out big time. That cartoon is really good. It's really solid. It was one of the best superhero cartoon shows. There was also the 90s Spider-Man stuff, which I believe, I don't know if they were created by the same production companies, but they did do some crossover-y things. So that little 90s era of cartoons was great. So for me, sure, I think Wolverine probably stands out. It's probably a combination of both, right? Like some of that cartoon stuff, being a kid around that time, they're marketed to you a little bit, and then Hugh Jackman just coming out and just crushing the film game. So but yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. What I wanted to talk about, even maybe a little more specifically with this, or why I kind of brought this up in the first place, is because, like I was saying, did Hugh Jackman define the character, or did the people love him and just say that he portrayed it correctly? Because there are some massive differences between Wolverine in the films and in the comics. And I don't know if you're aware of any of these groups.
I do know. I was going to ask if this is the first time we're seeing yellow suit Wolverine.
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe it has been teased in little ways, but I think this is the first legit comic accurate costume that we're getting. That's one of the big things that I think was changed was the look. but can you blame them too much for that? Like early 2000s era, they wanted gritty, grungy. Like they didn't want the big yellow suits.
It was the era, and the Wolverine suit would have looked so off in those films.
I don't think they could have done them right at that time. I don't know if they really like had the ability like we do now, where we can do it comic accurate, but like make it feel good, make it feel real. So kind of happy they waited.
Yeah, no, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. I think that's really cool. I think that's good to touch back to kind of the roots of the character and put that on screen. I think a lot of people wanted that. I think a lot of people are excited for that. So that'll be really cool. We'll see. I don't know. I'm looking. I don't know. Have they shown him with a helmet on yet?
I don't know if we have seen a legit photo of that. I know I've seen some like Photoshop stuff. I think we might have seen a picture of the helmet at some point, but I don't know if we've gotten it on yet. So interested to see how they're going to do that in the film.
So that's really cool, because previously the Wolverine character, it was just his hair that was kind of stylized, kind of like the helmet, right?
Yeah.
Has he ever in the films? And I know I'm a bad
well,
X-Men fan.
So am I, because I am not as into the X-Men films. It's a lot of work to be an X-Men fan. If you're like a hardcore X-Men fan living through some of those films, my gosh, good for you. I believe it's either a deleted scene or it's a post-credit scene during one of the films at some point that we see like some gloves in like a helmet mask kind of a thing. But he never puts it on. It's just kind of teased that like it could happen. It might happen. But the hair, I think the hair was the most iconic thing from that like early 2000s look. Like, I think that's what we got. Sure. We really didn't get a helmet.
For sure. That's what that differentiates Hugh Jackman from Wolverine is the hairstyle, right?
Yeah, I think so. It'll be interesting. I do hope that we see that. And because that is sort of a prevalent thing in the comics, and maybe it's sort of after Hugh Jackman, now they're starting to draw him a little more like the movie version, but he's not wearing that suit all the time, that's for sure. In a lot of the more modern comics, he's just in some of the stuff. Like, that's why I feel like Days of Future Past was a pretty good representation of him, because it felt a little more like a modern-ish version of him. It felt true to the comic book, but not that early version of Wolverine. Very interested to see if they give us some of that in the new film. I am hoping that we see sort of all versions of Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So as much as the costume is a big change between comic accurate Wolverine and what we got in the films, it's not actually the thing that I was thinking about. So I don't know if you know one of the other major differences between Hugh Jackman and like comic book accurate Wolverine, because it is a massive, massive difference.
You know what? I'm waiting to hear it.
The height. The height is a really big deal, because I forget how tall Hugh Jackman actually is. It's like 6 foot plus. Wolverine's supposed to be like a tiny guy. I forget if he's supposed to be like a 5'8" guy or like a 5'2" guy, but
is that right?
He is supposed to be tiny. And when you think about a Wolverine is
sense.
Not a big creature. Like, that was the purpose.
Oh, it's 5'3", yeah.
Yeah, it's a small
5'3".
He is hairy. We'll give him that. Hugh Jackman, they portray that right as a fuzzy dude, but like, he's supposed to be small and he's supposed to be fuzzy. He is supposed to be a short king. And for the rest of us more shorter kings out here, they kind of took one of our representations away. So,
he was supposed to be 5'3" and 300 pounds because of a skeleton. So
there you go.
So that's
which is all made of metal.
Interesting. And I don't know, maybe because all comic interpretations I see, he's always doing that stance.
The like classic Wolverine claw thing. Yeah. It's probably partly that. And I also do think that it is sort of the movie-fication of the comic books. Like, once there was a certain point in time when there was starting to get rumored that like Samuel L. Jackson was going to be Nick Fury. So every comic book that you see from that area, it's Samuel L. Jackson, even though it's not it's not him. So I think there is like people really like that version of him. Let's start to implement that into the comics a little bit. So I'm sure he probably got taller, or at least he was drawn taller than like he was supposed to be. But the dude is supposed to be real short.
Supposed to be, yeah.
And real fuzzy.
That's interesting.
So with that being said, and we're talking a lot, Hugh Jackman, obviously iconic in the role. I do think from the comics that I've read, I do think that he captures it very well. I'm not trying to say that he didn't, but there were some other actors that were rumored to potentially be Wolverine, at least I think around the X1 time. Have you ever heard these rumors of who is supposed to be Wolverine?
I have not even seen it, so
you're gonna love this.
Who was supposed to be the Wolverine?
You're gonna love this.
Oh, Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito was supposed to. He was rumored. I probably did.
Did you tell me that,
dude? I probably did. I tell a lot of people because like I love Danny. I love Danny DeVito. He's short. He's chunky. He's fuzzy. I just think it would be unbelievably funny for him to be Wolverine. And I am not holding my breath for this. I am not holding my breath for this. But it is such a thing. Ryan Reynolds with Wolverine in a Deadpool movie, Deadpool being Ryan Reynolds having connections to the Always Sunny cast. It's kind of likely that like we might see him as Wolverine in this movie, if not for just even a brief second. Like, how could you not do that?
Is that a rumor that Danny DeVito potentially could be in this, or is that not?
I have actually tried to stay away from the rumor mill as much as possible for this movie because I'm trying to go in just as like clear as I can because I know there's going to be some major surprises. There's been rumblings of Taylor Swift potentially being in the film, which I think is a possibility. I just think there's no way. This has been one of the biggest like casting things in Hollywood. Like, isn't that funny? Like Danny DeVito almost became a Wolverine, and especially if you're going to have because Mac is in the movie. Not to spoil that for you, but I forget his actual name. But Mac from Always Sunny is a cameo in the film. Like, so it's possible. It is unbelievably possible Danny DeVito makes an appearance.
And this is like other. I mean, this is rated R, so they're putting a lot into a rated R movie, which I don't know if that's done a lot.
Like putting this much kind of oomph and emphasis into a rated R film.
Yeah, I mean, granted, we've had the other Deadpool movies, right? We had Logan, which was rated R as well. But this is really, from what it seems like, playing to be the film of the year, as far as the film event of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Inside Out, I mean, we haven't really talked about how since it came out, but Inside Out has absolutely destroyed the box office.
Yeah. And I think if this film is any level of quality,
this could who knows? I mean, there's a lot kind of put into this. There's a lot of rumors with this movie. There's a lot of people super excited to see the movie. So I think
I think we're gonna get some cool stuff.
Yeah,
like, I think it's so possible. This is the first like big movie, like you were saying, that they're putting like an R-rated film that they're putting behind like this much superhero blockbuster level stuff for. I think the budget has it has to be much bigger than the original Deadpools because the Deadpool films were kind of done a little cheap. They were done a little more guerrilla, so like the marketing was. This is like full production, full MCU, full Disney push. Like they're not shying away from it.
This is. I mean, Disney has full. This is the first time, right? When did Disney acquire Fox?
Handful of years ago, but like not too long. I forget what the actual year was. It must be like 2017, 2016, something like that.
I think it was later than that. No,
I thought it was right around, say, like 2017.
Well, so yeah. I mean, this is first time Disney really has the movie, but they're also. I don't think they're afraid to kind of push things a little bit in the sense that have some surprises here. Get people hyped. In Multiverse of Madness, I mean, just the specific cameos we had there.
Yeah. Which were fantastic. They were great, a little spoiled, and a lot of people felt a little underwhelmed by the Multiverse of Madness, which I think is actually going to play into Deadpool and Wolverine's favor. I think that there was enough production time between when they were making that movie and when people were upset to now when they're making this and they're releasing this, that they were probably able to address a lot of the issues that people had with Multiverse of Madness. So I really think, and especially knowing Ryan Reynolds, the way he comes at things, I know that Hugh Jackman is probably just not going to just do this just to do this. Like, it's got to be a pretty dope film.
This doesn't seem, yeah, exactly. For Hugh Jackman to come back for one,
yeah,
but for them in general to have this much hype over a superhero movie, when, I mean, how long has it been since we've had hype for any superhero movie?
It's been a while. It's been a while, and I think just a lot of people haven't been feeling the Marvel machine lately. So pumping something out like this that's different. And this is kind of like what we were saying before, where like Deadpool 1 comes out at a time where it's like kind of needed in the movie industry, the superhero movie industry, to sort of rejuvenate superhero films. I'm really hoping that is what happens again with this. This movie is able to come out and
like
really bring it back.
It seems like a lot of people are excited again for another superhero movie.
Yeah.
And I mean, we do get a very different superhero movie with this movie in general, and
it's kind
Deadpool
of okay.
in general.
You
There's
know?
a lot
because we need it. We need that. Like,
you're not
humor.
just getting the same script though, which is which I think is fun. I mean, when you go into this movie, just like when you go into the first Deadpool, the second Deadpool, you really don't know what is going to happen next. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what the jokes are going to be. You don't know if Ryan Reynolds is going to blow himself up and come back to life. You don't know if he's going to have baby legs, baby hands, or
I hope he does, man. Oh, I hope he's got some baby limb.
Something is going to happen, but we don't really know what's going to happen. It's going to be
I think it's just going to be pretty crazy. I think it's going to be based a lot on the Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe style of just, I think we're going to meet a lot of MCU people, or we're going to see a lot of MCU events from different angles. There is sort of you can see in one of the trailers, he's got the Doctor Strange like teleporting ring thing that happens, but I'm pretty sure he's jumping into the end of Endgame, like that big battle when they're all jumping through the portals. I'm pretty sure we're going to see that.
Is this going to be, I don't know if I asked this earlier, is this going to be kind of a separate universe? Or do we not really know where this sits? So
here's my interpretation of what we've seen so far. A lot of the marketing material is centered around stuff from mainly the Low-Key TV show, which is an organization called the TVA, which Owen Wilson is like one of the agents at the TVA, which is like this like multiversal sort of like godlike agency that watches all over all the different multiverses and makes sure that they don't like goof up, that somebody doesn't slip out of one universe and go into another one and like cause chaos. He's there and something's going on there. So he's going to essentially be able to like access probably multiple different multiverses and dimensions. This is going to be very rooted in sort of the MCU style stuff. I think that is like probably their biggest point here. But they are going to reference Fox in everything else that happened in the other movies. So I think it's going to be a big way for them to marry the like X-Men world with the MCU world a little bit harder. There's some really cool, not to get into spoiler territory, but there is some cool like set footage and set photos that leaked of like Wolverine and Deadpool fighting. I think you see it in the trailer. And then in the background, there's a big like 20th Century Fox, like that big like when they do the opening and it has that big like statue or stone thing, like it's like crumbled in the background. So I'm expecting something really interesting.
A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, like a lot of those weird things. It's going to be fourth wall breaking to no end, but I think in a way that makes a lot of sense, and especially makes sense like given where Marvel is in their story, because they're so deep into the multiverse thing right now. This is a perfect way to just do all of that and like anything that you need, because the big challenge that the MCU is coming up against right now is that like they're trying to incorporate the X-Men into their established world. But if you know anything about the X-Men, you know that like they've been around since the dawn of time, more or less. Like that's their whole story, is that they're like hiding underground a lot and that they've influenced a lot of major moments in the world. like people know about mutants and they don't exist in this version of the Marvel universe. So how do we bring them in? How do we sort of like retroactively make all that happen? Multiverse stuff is just the easiest way to do that.
It is.
We're
It
mashing
makes
that
sense
up with that. Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's going to be too hurt about that. I that's ultimately how the comic books work in general.
Yes.
Right. So to have that follow in that line, I don't think anyone even really cares that much.
No. And I think they care less when it's a character like Deadpool. Like you're willing to accept 100%. It when it's Deadpool versus just some other character.
I feel that can hurt especially when people were that attached to like the Avengers and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think when the multiverses started and you had characters dying and things, I think that might have hurt the narrative a little bit. Not that it's not canon, not that it's not typical of the comic books to do things like that, but for it definitely with Deadpool, I think there's gonna be a lot less people caring about them playing different universes because it doesn't really matter. People are watching Deadpool and Wolverine for Deadpool and Wolverine for what they expect with Deadpool, to see Wolverine, to see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So basically I think the right that seems to be the consensus. People want another Deadpool movie. So we're excited for the movie being a Deadpool movie, but we're also excited to see Wolverine in this movie opposed to it being a Wolverine movie.
Yeah. I think they have made official announcement too that like this movie technically isn't Wolverine, like, or it's not Deadpool 3. Like there's Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2. This is not technically Deadpool 3. I think this is kind of its own thing. So I'm interested to see if like Deadpool 3 will happen. But like I would have been fine with another, like, because those two first Deadpool movies were a little smaller. They were a little like, they weren't humongous. But like I'm really interested in the fact that like Deadpool is going to have like sort of this Avengers level kind of movie. Like it's a big deal.
And
it's
that's
a big thing.
Right? I mean, going back to those movies where they have the what's the X-Men Academy called?
Like the Professor X's school. What
What
is the name of the school? It's like famous. Why am I blanking on? My god!
Definitely don't remember this stuff, but they have the school for mutants or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
something like that. School of witchcraft and mutantism.
It's Hogwarts, man.
They have. The fact that there's only like 2 characters there.
Xavier's Institute of Higher Learning. That's not what I thought it was. But okay.
That doesn't sound right.
I thought it was way cooler than that and snappier than that. What am I thinking of? I don't know.
But just the joke. That they can only afford basically 2 characters to be there.
Yeah.
They don't have the full cast. That's really funny, and that's like going to your point. This movie is going to be that kind of next step. This is the big budget movie that's coming out. So that's going to be. Do we know the budget for this one?
I don't know, but I would imagine 300 million plus. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was like 200 something, I think. Maybe it was in the 100s, but movies have just exploded. It's tough to tell what what they are unless you're really into tracking box office and stuff.
I don't know if there is the budget released on how much it cost.
Yeah, it might be released later. It might be once the movie actually comes out, it might officially be released, because they're definitely going to be telling us how much money it makes. I am going to imagine, regardless even if the movie is good or not, it's going to make a lot of money. It's going to make a lot of money. This is a massive property. These are massive actors. This is a really annoying bug that's flying around my room. I'm expecting big things, but I'm not trying to hype it up too much. I think that's probably the biggest thing that I would imagine is going around the fandom right now. I'm not in tune with it right now because I'm trying to stay spoiler free. But I would imagine a lot of people are like, don't get too hyped up because we're this should be everything. But I would like everything,
to be. To see what they can do with what they had. The budget for first Deadpool was $50 million.
Yeah, and that was low even for that time.
That is
really
low. Winter Soldier was $170 million.
Yeah.
And when did Winter Soldier come out?
Similar-ish, probably right before, but like similar-ish.
2 years before. 2 years before, it had triple and a half the budget of Deadpool.
That's insane. Yeah, the fact they could do that is wild.
As far as film quality is very on par, for the type of movies they are. Multiverse of Madness came out, big cast.
Yep.
350 million budget.
That's wild. So this thing's got to be like 4.
It has to be to see what they're going to be doing with the effects. I mean, we were going from 50 to 100 million with the second one to now this movie. I would assume, that they know this is going to make money. I assume this is going to be minimum of $300 million budget.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Honestly, if not more, to have the cast that they even have. I mean, to have Hugh Jackman in the movie,
Hugh and Ryan are probably taking a huge chunk of that budget. Like that's
100%.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have a bigger budget. You have more opportunity. You have a movie that is going to do well. So
I would imagine that this thing is probably going to cross the $1 billion mark at the box office. I would be very willing to say that. I don't know too much how box office are doing right now. Back in sort of Deadpool 1's run, I was really into tracking that stuff.
I think in general, going to the movies was becoming more and more popular. COVID kind of slowed that down, obviously.
Definitely did. But COVID and like a lot of the streaming services, with those two things in combined, have kept a lot of people home.
But people were going to the movies. I mean, there wasn't as much of straight to streaming services. It was, we're going to go see this in the theaters. I mean, the superhero movies, for better or worse, I don't know if they're a big reason for it, but I think those brought a lot of people back to the theater.
100%.
These are big blockbuster movies that you want to see in a theater opposed to just on your couch.
It's wild because like I was there every Thursday night, like when they would open on Thursdays or they open on Fridays. I was there some of the first screenings that I could get to. I was watching those films. Hasn't really been that way for a little bit. And like I am even one of these people who thinks that like the Marvel universe right now, like a lot of people are dogging on it, and I'm thinking it's fine. Like I don't think it's as bad as everybody says. But this is the first film where I'm like, I gotta be there. Like the minute this stuff goes down.
It's an event, right? And
it also doesn't help that my entire weekend is going to be eaten up by your sister's wedding that we're going to.
That'll do it.
So that's going to be quite a thing. But that Thursday, man, like I gotta go see it. That first screening. Like it's gotta happen.
It's definitely gonna be an event. There's been a lot of people talking about, and you don't want to be spoiled because there's a lot that could be coming out here.
If Danny DeVito comes out and that's ruined for me, just like John Krasinski in Doctor Strange was ruined for me, I'll lose my mind.
You just gotta stay off the internet.
Dude, that's why I'm not looking at anything. No. I really have to.
The completely other news, Inside Out 2 has surpassed Incredibles 2 as the highest grossing Pixar film.
Interesting. And it's interesting to me too that Incredibles 2 is the highest, but I guess it makes sense, kind of the modern movie thing, like we talked about in one of our Pixar conversations. But interesting. I have still not seen the film, so that is another film that I have to see as well.
We gotta see that too.
Life's pretty busy, so
yeah. Bad Disney fans, right? But all right, you got anything else to
I just think Wolverine is the coolest guy ever. I think he's so cool.
Not much of a debate today, but
his bones are made of metal. That's it, dude. What else do we got? He's got those claws.
Metal bones.
We haven't even talked about the fact that he has retractable claws.
He's got claws. Deadpool. Yeah, I mean, we really haven't touched on
not too much, right?
But yeah, he's got metal fists. Deadpool is interesting because he has guns.
Yeah, guns, swords. He is like
guns and katanas,
weapon,
and he was a mercenary. And to have a superhero use guns in general is obviously not common.
We see it. Probably just in the Punisher? Like how many other times do you see
the Punisher? And I mean, who were the two most likely characters to see on the back of the Edgy Kids car?
You got it, man.
Those two. But you really don't see, besides the Punisher, Deadpool uses guns, which I think in a way is almost funny and plays on the whole superhero thing in general. Is he can just shoot his way. You know, I don't know.
Well, it's the whole thing. Like, granted, Ben Affleck, Batman, and some of that stuff is using guns, and it kind of goes against like Batman's whole thing is that he doesn't kill and he doesn't use
Batman
guns,
doesn't kill
because that's all part of his origin story. But it's just like the way that Deadpool, especially like in that first scene when they're on the highway, or one of the first scenes in the first Deadpool when they're on that highway and he's doing the whole like shootout thing with everybody, like it's just so flippant the way that he's just using guns. Like he just, like everybody else, that's a big deal. For me, this is just Wednesday. Like, who cares? That's amazing.
It's used tastefully too.
I think so.
The
way they've done it, yeah.
And there need to be. I mean, this is a Disney movie. Not a lot of Disney movies feature guns.
Then that will be really interesting again to see how they handle it, because like there was a big deal made of it in the first two movies. Like the guns, it was a big thing. They did a lot of CG with bullets. Like, are they going to do that again? Are they going to stifle him in some way, shape, or form? I just can't imagine that they would let it be 100% the same way. I think it's going to feel okay, but I think we might get a pullback on some stuff somewhere. It'll be interesting to see where that is.
I hope not, but yeah, we're like you said, we're gonna have to just see how it works out
and see. Let's go check it out. Let's go do it. It's coming out in just a little bit. I really got to see it. I really am excited for it. I love both these characters. I love both these actors. I love the legacy of these characters in film and what it means. I love what it means for the Marvel Universe coming up. I am very excited, and as much as I said, like, I do enjoy what Marvel is doing right now. I legitimately do, but I haven't been this excited for a product in a very long time. So
I agree.
Let's see, man.
I think this is fun. Like you said, I think we've kind of touched on the two characters. Again, we didn't really debate them much, but we were able to talk about them. I think it's fun just to talk about them. But yeah, I mean, I think we're this time in the world is in need of another social commentary, film, and to have a character, a meta character like Deadpool, I think fits into the humor of the times. I think it fits into what we want to see in film. So we'll see what happens, and I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see Wolverine in that yellow suit. Clearly, just one of the best superheroes ever. His bones are made of metal. That's all I gotta say. He's got those claws. Wolverine wins, man. No, it's a
I'll
pretty
give it to
fair.
you. I don't know. I think it's
all
fair.
preference. It's
almost like
preference.
they should go in a movie together. And,
they should
and see what happens.
Let's see if this goes well. Maybe we get that Deadpool Spider-Man movie everybody wants, if they want to desecrate the name of Spider-Man as well. Don't know if that one's going to happen. So we got to take this one right now. We got to run with it. We got to enjoy it. Go see this film when it comes out. And then what we want you to do is go to our social media at Diz, D-I-S, Diz or That Pod. Let us know what you think of it. Let us know about all the stuff. Be respectful for the first like 24, 48 hours or something. Don't be spoilery. But if you're going to comment, we want to know what you thought about it. I'm sure we're going to be having lots of discussions on all the comment threads. If you're on YouTube watching this, make sure to leave those little thoughts, predictions, if you got any predictions of what's going to happen in the film, and then come back again and then leave a comment to your comment about what actually happened, or maybe how spot on you were. So check us out on YouTube. If you want to just listen to us and you don't want to look at these gorgeous faces, you can check us out too on all the major podcasting apps. So Spotify, that's the Apple podcast stuff. I believe there's a bunch of other ones. There's a few out there. So go check them out on your favorite platform. We're there. Other than that, we just hope that you guys had a good time with this little discussion, that you enjoy Marvel as much as we do, and that you enjoy the scent of Magic Candles, our sponsor for this episode. 15%, guys. That's a hefty chunk. You can save some money. Go buy some candles. We're going to be buying some candles and some sprays, and we're going to be testing them out on Disney property. So I'm trying to go to some of those monorail hotels. I'm going to get some of those sprays.
Oh, there we go.
We're going to go see how close these smells are when I am down with Chris in Orlando in just a few weeks or days, depending on when you're listening to this.
When this comes out. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a hot time. Wear your cool outfit. Get it packed now, because you're going to need it.
We're going to need it. Undershirts galore. Yeah, so make sure, again, to check out the social media. We're going to be doing tons of stuff live, and we're going to be having a bunch of fun, different styles of content coming out right after that. So make sure to stay tuned to everything. Like, subscribe where appropriate. We will see you guys in our next episode of the happiest debate on Earth.
This podcast was brought to you by the Magic Candle Company. Relive your favorite theme park memories through the magical sense of smell. Receive 15% off at checkout by using discount code DEBATE and help our channel in the process.